then the choir's going to sing something, and then the Cohasset clergy are going to read something. So we're going to build that excitement, and you're going to anticipate. It's going to be great. First thing I got to do is just, in case you didn't know, the bathrooms are just down this hall on the left. If you need a bathroom, they're right down there. I'd also like to make sure we thank the kitchen crew. Who else do we need to thank? We need to where's Connie? We need to thank Connie Ashar, who really and thank you to everybody who has in any way helped set this up, not just this year, but over the years. I know many of you in this room have put this on at your own congregation, and it's just such a great event to have every year. I think we're ready to have the choir sing. Mary Beth? Would the Cohasset clergy come forward, please?
We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted.
Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that.
We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation.
The foundation of such a method is love.
Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war.
One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal.
We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means.
We shall hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope.
Thank you for those words, and of course you all recognize that those were excerpts from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches. And now I think we have a song, and everybody's invited to join in. It's in your program, and the insert in your program. Well, I learned something about the Cohasset Diversity Committee and its trends, that you folks can really sing. That really sounded fabulous. Before we have the formal introduction to the speaker, I would like to point out that the entire proceeds for this breakfast will go to the charity chosen by our speaker, and that charity is Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Massachusetts. If you would like to make an additional contribution, there are a number of people who can accept that contribution for you, and we'll make sure that your money goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And now we're going to hear from Elisa Gittens-Carl, who's been 23 years as the METCO coordinator.
And to introduce our speaker of the hour, our 2024 Mass Teacher of the Year, Deshaun Watson. I've been watching everybody walk up to him in awe and, you know, this celebrity, and so I'm so touched that I get to introduce him. He did not set out to be a teacher. He holds a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance and worked for a Big Four accounting firm in Boston for several years before he got the call to teach. He says, that he was, his greatest teacher and his first teacher was his grandmother. She was a teacher in the Woburn Public Schools for, as he says, a gazillion years. But she was the one who taught him how to read, how to process reading as knowledge, and to realize that knowledge is power when you read, when you take in all that she had given to him. Now, as a fourth grade teacher in the Maria Hastings Elementary School in Lexington, he teaches reading, writing, math, social studies, science, in a classroom of students of all abilities and needs. His students are of many different races, ethnicities, bring cultural backgrounds, languages, and experience to the classroom that gives it a unique and rich experience for all who join in. He takes Dr. King's dream seriously and literally. When asked, how do you cultivate Dr. King's dream, he said, when I think about Dr. King and his mission, it is that everyone is equal. Everyone is getting what is equitable for them, and that we are approaching justice. Justice work in teaching means that students are walking away with the tools they can utilize in the world around them, to help their families, to go out in the world to do science experiments, or whatever the case may be, science experiments, or whatever the case may be. How teaching and learning is done in schools is really relevant, especially if you are interested in the social aspect of education. Now here he is, our guest speaker of today. When so many educators are leaving the educational field, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Deshaun Washington.
How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone good? It's good to see all of you all this morning. It's good to be seen as well. And to the beautiful people here, the distinguished guests that are here today, the citizens across Cohasset, Mass, and everyone standing before you here at First Parish Unitarian University Passion's House. We are igniting the passion, cultivating the dream today for the 20th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Pancake Breakfast. We want to shout out, first of all, can we give one more round of applause for Connie Ashford for setting up. She reached out to me right after I was announced as Massachusetts Teacher of the Year, and I said, absolutely, you definitely make this happen. So I want to thank you for lending the doors open for me to come today. Also want to thank Mr. Dan Harper and the ministerial staff for organizing all the tables, the chairs, the food today. Please give them one more round of applause. Also want to thank the town of Cohasset for the opportunity to come to your hometown today, to ignite the passion of service. As we together on this day cultivate the dream Dr. King is still dreaming of today. So thank you for having me. Today, my brothers and sisters, is a beautiful day. It's a special day. As we gather to commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a remarkable man who changed how we seek justice, righteousness, and fairness through service and giving. But we also come together to reflect on the enduring values that he once and still does champion. Dr. King's dream of equity, equality, justice, and unity continues to inspire us in our work today. As we celebrate the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it is essential to consider the profound impact of service given back to our community in Cohasset, as well as the full Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Dr. King once asked this potent question I want everyone to reflect and think about today. Life's most persistent and urgent question is this, he said. What are you doing for others? I want you to reflect that. What are you doing for your neighbor today? What are you doing for your husband, your wife today? Your children today? The people you called to serve today? Reflect on that. as I'll share a little bit what I'm doing for others today. This powerful question serves as a call of action, reminding us of our collective responsibility to contribute to the well-being of our neighbor. How are you cultivating the dream in the daily walk of life? Service, giving, the act of service. It's the force that transcends boundaries, connects hearts, builds bridges of understanding to and for one another. It's through the acts of service, kindness, compassion, selflessness, that we can truly embody the spirit of Dr. King's dream. As an elementary school teacher, the characteristics of Dr. King is exemplified in my daily work. Empathy and compassion for students, justice and selflessness to be able to give back to students and then prepare them for the action that calls in the world around them. They're all embodied in my work as I work with 25 students each year in my 4th grade class. And each year, through their learning and social development, we work to build a community of service, of giving, justice, and action. How exactly is this done? Cultivating compassionate relationships, it all starts there. In the beginning of every school year, I receive this class roster. This class roster contains about 25 students. These students come from different walks of life, different cultural backgrounds, different languages, different unique people. That's the beautiful thing about life. Every person is unique in their way. And my goal is during that season, I get 10 months, 180 school days. During that season of time, the objective is to make sure that every child is able to write just another page of their book towards their destination, the promised land. These children come with different goals, passions, purposes in life. And as for me as a teacher, I must recognize, affirm, and instruct my students to be closer to the dreams that they have. So I take these dreams, embedded them in the smallest of seeds. I get like this little seed, it's very small. And I drop those seeds and plant them in the classroom. Students come into the classroom and we get to know one another. That's the first thing we do before we get into the instruction. Through games and activities, community circles, classroom shout-outs, Dr. King's intentionality to show compassion is reflected on the students' value of one another, celebrating each other's successes, and be able to grieve with one another in times of grieving. Being able to share a moment together and celebrate each other's successes in their writing and their math work, and play together as one at recess. It is the hallmark of our teaching, our learning, and our action in our community space to serve and to give. Dr. King also talked about this component of approaching of accountability. See, in teaching, we have to also hold ourselves and our students accountable to the teaching and learning. Dr. King told us that the time is always right to do what is right. Dr. King's word reminds us that accountability requires a consistent commitment to doing what is morally right, regardless of the circumstances. So in education, doing what's right means holding our students, our children, our community accountable for their actions and behaviors and ensuring that they fulfill their purpose, their dream that they have for their lives. And as I teach, I provide instruction for students on how to navigate and solve conflicts with each other, with peers. I help them coach them on how to work collectively, to investigate questions, or spark curiosity in the science projects, or guide them on taking the next step towards their purpose. The advocacy for justice. These steps lead to the advocacy of justice. The seed planting and the accountability work leads to justice. Dr. King profoundly spoke that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, as you just heard. My students are taught to stand for justice as well, for each other and with one another. My 4th graders understand the power of service with a justice-based mindset. When they go for this thing called book buddies, they go down to the kindergarten classroom and help teach the 5-6-year-olds how to read. They also understand the power of supporting an organization within our school community called the Student Leadership Team, designed to help give 4th and 5th graders the opportunity to work with school administrators, to enhance student voice, amplify opportunities for students to advocate for themselves and their needs, and be able to help collect an opportunity to give back to the school community. Through school-wide events and through school experiences, these students are engaging in that justice-based work that we call today. This leadership team of 4th graders and 5th graders who help create school-wide events and amplify the student voice is also heard and valued in this transformation of the school experience. Justice everywhere begins with extinguishing the existence of injustice. I'll say that one more time. Justice everywhere begins with extinguishing the existence of injustice. In service, we empower our community, one person at a time, to make justice the norm. Giving is a selfless act. Giving selflessly, or engaging in acts of kindness and generosity without expecting anything in return, can have a variety of positive effects on both the individuals and society as a whole. And it all starts with this profound statement that Dr. King shared. Everybody can be great. Every one of you can be great. Because everybody in this room can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verbs agree to serve. You only need a heart of full grace, a soul generated by love. Dr. King's definition of greatness revolves around the idea that anyone can contribute through acts of service and love, emphasizing the accessibility of selfless giving. It is the water that is poured into my students at the Mariah Hastings Elementary School in Lexington. It is the blessing that Mr. Harper and his ministerial staff here at First Parish is doing for the town of Cohasset and the church congregation. And it's what we must continue to do as we live out the dream Dr. King once vividly provided for us. We ought to give selflessly. And we are in the church this morning exposed to the love of God. For as 1 John 4:16 says, God is love. It came to symbol love through the actions of service and giving for justice and righteousness. For you and me, glory to that message. The power of service. You see, service is not just a mere transaction where I do something for you and then you do something for me. It's not just a physical time. It's not just a resource where I give you some money, then you give me some money, and that's all we do. Service is a transformation of our souls, our spirits, our hearts, and our minds. When we engage in acts of service, we not only lift our brother and sister that's right next to us, but we also elevate ourselves, evaluating the capacity of service. Dr. King understood that our true measure of a person's character lies in their wealth, not in their wealth or status, but in their commitment to make a positive impact on the lives of others. Each small act of service, whether it's volunteering at a local shelter, mentoring a young mind, or lending a helping hand to a neighbor, contributes to the larger trajectory of social change. So as we celebrate Dr. King and the Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service, this holiday presents, let us remember that service is not confined by race or religion or background. It's a universal language we all get to share together. That's a beautiful thing, right? It's a universal language that speaks to the common humanity that you and I get to share together. That is what Dr. King envisioned in his call of action regarding service. A world where people were judged not by the color of their skin, but you know what the rest of it says? Content and character. Service provides us with an opportunity to live out this vision, breaking down barriers and fostering a sense of unity that transcends the differences that too often divides us, not unites us together. It is through service in the classroom or in the church, in our community, that we figuratively and literally join hands to ensure every person, every brother, every sister, every husband, every wife, every person that we can serve, have the privilege of justice and righteousness in their walk to the promised land. Moreover, giving back is a powerful antidote to changes in our community faces. Whether addressing issues of poverty, inequality, injustice, the act of service has the potential to be a catalyst for change. Not just any change, positive change. By working together, hand in hand, we, as a community together here in Cohasset today, we create a more just, compassionate society. a society that reflects the dream Dr. King so passionately spoke about. It is what we are teaching our children in schools today, and it's what we need to model for our children to keep the dream alive for tomorrow. What does the Word, what does the Bible say about giving service? Well, in the Word, it says that in Galatians 5:13, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. The powerful verse encapsulates the essence of Dr. King's message. The call of freedom, not just for oneself, but for all. It underscores the notion that true freedom is intertwined with the responsibility to serve, uplift, and love each other. The Gospel of Matthew goes deeper, as Jesus imparts a profound truth that aligns with Dr. King's commitment to justice and compassion. He says, the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. These words resonate the spirit of service Dr. King embodied. A recognition that our actions, especially those directed toward the marginalized and oppressed, are a reflection of service to a higher purpose. Man, everyone got calls today. Everybody got calls today. Man, my phone ain't ringing. I got my shit. Absolutely, that's the call to action. Dr. King's dream, much like the biblical teachings, transcends more rhetoric. It calls us to action, urging us to embody the principles of justice and righteousness in our daily lives. In Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17, we find a timeless directive. Learn to do what is right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead to the case of the widow. These words echo Dr. King's call for a just society, where the oppressed find defenders and the voiceless becomes heard. So as we reflect, as we close here on this beautiful morning on Dr. King's dream, the biblical teachings, and the call of action, we're reminded that service is not just a noble pursuit, but a sacred duty that you and I are called to do. This is a part of our work, to serve and to give. We're supposed to do that. To go back to that earlier question, how are you loving others? How are you serving your brother and sister, husband and wife, children, the people around you? How are you doing that for others? Right? It's the manifestation of our commitment to the principles of justice, righteousness, and love. Dr. King's message and the scriptures that we read challenges us to transcend complacency and actively engage in the work on building a more just, more compassionate community. Cohasset, let us use the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a catalyst to take action. Let us commit ourselves to a life of service where the power of giving back becomes a guiding force in our daily lives. Dr. King's dream was not only about breaking the chains of oppression, or about forging balance of love, understanding the service that will endure for generations to come. As we stand on the shoulders of his legacy, let us honor his memory by actively contributing to a realization of his dream. Whatever your dreams are, it's time for us to realize it. And it starts with us taking action and serving and giving. Together, we can build a brighter, more inclusive future for all of us. So I want to thank you. And may the spirit of service continue to inspire us through the year. I want to thank you. I got one more. I'm sorry. I know y'all ready to serve. We got 2 minutes. I crafted this quick little poem. It's called I Have a Dream, Too. But as I share this poem with you, I want you to think about the dreams that you have for yourself. Because if we are still alive, that means we can still dream. The dream never dies on us. The light hasn't turned off on us. That means we can go back and continue to live out this dream, realizing it. So I just want to share a word of encouragement through this poem called I Have a Dream, Too. In the hallowed echoes of history seen, resounds a dream, a potent, hopeful theme. From the lips of a prophet, bold and serene, a symphony of change, the I have a dream. I have a dream, Dr. King proclaimed with grace, a vision of unity, a harmonious embrace. On the steps of freedom, his words did soar, echoes of equality forevermore. On the steps of justice, where dreams take flight, Dr. King painted visions in the softest light. I had a dream, he declared with might, a dream that pierced the darkest night. A dream not combined by race or color, but a harmonious world where we all find a place, a tapestry of unity, a thread of embrace, binding the human spirit, erasing disgrace. I have a dream, Dr. King spoke with conviction, a dream that stirs hearts, a timeless benediction. On the mountaintop, King glimpsed the promised land, a land where freedom and justice will firmly stand. I have a dream, too, a beacon so bright, a call to awaken from the slumber of night, where hands are intertwined, hearts alight, in the pursuit of justice shining white. In the valleys of despair, the dream took root, a promise to uplift, a resolute pursuit. Through the struggle and pain, a resounding flute played the melody of justice, absolute. On the mountaintop where eagles soar, Dr. King's dream echoed forevermore. A promise of equality, love to the core, in every heart a dream to restore. I have a dream, an anthem of grace, uniting the human race. In the mosaic of dreams, a shared embrace, a legacy of hope we forever trace. In honor of a dreamer, let us stand tall, striving for justice, breaking down every wall. For in tapestry of dreams, we play a part, continuing the journey with love in the heart. So let the dream resound in every soul. A symphony of freedom makes us whole. And for dreams, the seeds of change unroll. I have a dream too, a destiny to extol. Thank you so much for having me.
So would you be willing to answer some questions and take some comments?
Absolutely.
Because this is Cohasset, it's a small town, everybody wants to talk. The way we're going to do this is with a little feedback here.
I'm going to move the topic. It's all good.
So, because there's people who have hearing issues, if you want to talk, you either got to talk in a voice like mine, or you got to come down and talk in the microphone, okay? And you're in charge.
My granddaughter is a fourth grade teacher in Dorchester, and I would love to get a copy of your talk. Is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. Connie, I can share the link of my talk from August and share it with you so that you can share it with the community. Is that okay? Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
I
I
can
hope
see
you talk
voices.
loud enough, because I don't like
I
to
can
hear
hear
the
you.
microphone. The children in your school are getting a great teacher, and probably the other teachers are getting taught too. I wonder if you could share just some examples in the classroom of how you sort of create this with the kids. And I'm sure it's a whole year-long process, but you sound like you have so many good ideas. I'd love to just hear a few nuggets of
Absolutely. So we can even do it on like Friday, for example. So when students come in the classroom, we have what we call morning meeting. Morning meetings when we all gather together in a circle. We greet one another. That's our way of seeing and recognizing that we're still in existence. We ask each other how we're doing and we wish each other a great day. We also do like a morning game or a morning activity as a way to just start our day off with something awesome for kids to engage with one another and build community with each other. Then we go through the academic learning day, so we have like science, writing. They go off like recess, lunch, we have math. And then what we do is like we have this thing called community circle or empathy circle. Community circle is the whole classroom coming together in a circle. we do like check-ins. So we'll check in like, how's your day going? It's like your middle of the day check-in. Because things happen over a 4-hour period between the morning and the afternoon that you may not be aware of. So it gives an opportunity for kids to reflect on how their day's going so far, and for kids to build each other up if the day's not going so great, that they can give each other a word of encouragement. We also have this thing called empathy circles. This is where we meet twice a week, where students are sitting in a group of 4 rather than a large group of 25. And this empathy group, what this group does, is they have like specific activities or conversations that they have to have with one another. It's almost as if like if something happens in the school, these are like your first 3 people that you can go to because you build an intimate relationship with these particular students. So it's an opportunity for kids to have conversations about some of the hardest things that's going on in our school, or maybe like, again, a game or an activity that they have to work out with each other. And they also do activities like doing presentations and activities like you have to present in front of the school and things like that. And they prepare those activities through the empathy circles. At the end of the day, we have what we call, my class was called the Alligators. It's an awesome name, I know. We have the alligator shout outs of the day. And what that is, at the end of the day, we come back in a circle, kids shout each other out for making their day a joyous day. So we start our day with the high, we end the day with the high too. So even if the day really isn't that great, you could really sit and walk away like, yeah, but I got that smile at the end. I got a couple shout outs at the end of the day, right? And so it builds morale. It builds, again, being seen, heard, valued. Most importantly, the kids really enjoy the opportunity to just connect in that sort of way. And I think that's what distinguished my classrooms from other ones. It's just these other elements, these circle opportunities. We also have what we call like restorative circle too, where if there's a conflict that happens in our community or at recess, students are able to talk about those conflicts with the people that they need to talk about it with. And we talk about how we have to first seek to understand, then to be understood, right? So we come and approach with a listening ear. My grandmother used to say that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And the reason is that you need to be listening twice as much as you are speaking. So you're really supposed to be listening about 67% of the time. So it's really teaching us to be intentional about listening first and understanding what someone else is feeling, so we can have the empathy and compassion, and then be understood by our point of view. Right? So that's what we do in the classroom. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
So I got a question. So working as a parish minister, you know, you're sort of on the front lines of the mental health crisis, which has engulfed us since COVID. So I'm just wondering, your perspective as a 4th grade teacher, what are the mental health issues that you're seeing? And we already heard how you're addressing some of them with the empathy circles, but I wonder if you could just give us, without breaking confidentiality, a little snapshot of what's going on.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful question. So at schools nowadays, you see this this program called social emotional learning, where we're trying to equip students on recognizing how they feel. Because a lot of times, our students, they have a certain feel or certain behavior, certain energy, but they can't really name what it is. And so social emotional learning, again, helps to go back to these circles, helps to really name what we're feeling, where we are in terms of our healing process, and then what we need to do to serve. I think for me as a teacher, some of the things I've seen in recent years has been, one, there's a gap, right? A gap that's gonna be very hard to close academically. So no matter what grade you're in, if you was in that COVID bubble impact, you went on another grade, but you missed out on the previous grade's material. So you have this gap. And depending upon the age range that we're talking about, younger kids is gonna be impacted more, because these are foundational skills. So foundational skills like learning how to share a block with one another. If you miss kindergarten, right, this concept of sharing, concept of caring with one another, all of a sudden it needs to be taught in 1st grade. That might be something a 1st grade teacher might have been like taking advantage of, that like you already know the skill, but now I have to teach you. Or like you become the 3rd grade, working together as a team, but not know how to because you've been so isolated, working with yourself. You have to learn how to engage with peers. So you have this element of working and kids learn how to talk with one another as a community, but also kids learning how to then navigate some of the lost learning that they've experienced that they inherently won't receive back because they moved up the next grade, right? I think that, and then there's always things that, you know, at home that, you know, you can only imagine what's going on, that, you know, you do your best to support. That's why you have guidance counselors and you have other people that can come and support students. And I think generally speaking, we've lost the ability to engage with one another as students. Is from what my observations are, especially in the younger grades, and we have to reteach that. And it's tied at upper levels. It's very difficult when your mindset for 2 years have been being in this one space, confined space on a computer. And then suddenly asks, all right, now you're gonna work together on a project with 3 other people that you haven't had interactions with in 2 years. That's a long time when we talk about an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old child. So it's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking. Oh, yes. Hi. Hello.
Do you have any examples of when kids in your class have had conflicts, and the conflicts have related to what their parents are doing, or what groups they're a member of are doing, and through discussion and teaching their parents what they've learned in your class, that they have some success?
So to answer the first question, yeah, we get conflicts all the time. We are talking about 9, 10-year-old kids, 4th grade. So conflicts come up pretty frequently. I think in terms of that level of extreme where it's manifesting from outside of school boundaries, I personally haven't had those scenarios, but I've certainly seen students engage in some serious conflicts where at recess, for example, one student will literally push another student down to the ground, make fun of that student, and then like have this remorse of, oh, that was a bad thing to do, but I don't know how to resolve that. So this is other thing called, what we call a thinking chair. And this is where students will have a problem. And rather than be the one who, this happened to me, this is the person saying, I did this. I pushed this kid down at recess, laughed at him when he started crying, but I don't know how to resolve that. I need help. And that's where we have community, literally families, parents, but also students talk about strategies. What's the best way that we can forgive? Well, do y'all have a mutual friend? Maybe that mutual friend can be like a link that you can go speak to them. Maybe you need a wait a day. You know, some students will say like, hey, write a letter first. You know, maybe they're not ready to talk to you. You may write a letter, leave it at their locker. You know, they give different strategies. And then what we do is, we say like, all right, in 24 hours, we need you to come back to this chair again and tell her to give us a report of what happened, right? And then we also share this information with families as well of what's going on, so that way families are aware of, hey, so-and-so got pushed, so-and-so did the pushing, these are the action steps that we're taking, this is how we're leading to healing. Because the restorative practice component of all of this, if you think about it, is that we're trying to restore people from their wrongdoing so they can stay or be brought back into community. That's really the point of it, right? So all of us here, I'm making an assumption, all of us here have made a mistake or two in life. And when we do make those mistakes, right, it's like we don't want to be ostracized. We want to be able to understand that we have an opportunity to be forgiven. That may mean that maybe that friendship, there may be a line on that friendship now because you did push me, and you knocked me down, and you made fun of me. Maybe that part, like, maybe we can't be friends the same way, but I can forgive. Because that's the teaching piece. If we can teach kids how to take ownership, the accountability, and then also teach the ability to forgive, like forgive wholly, and you can still keep the boundary of like, hey, maybe it turns out us being friends, maybe not right now, but I can forgive you, right? Because you came with sincerity. So I think that's really what the great teaching is, and I think that's what families really enjoy about my classroom specifically. Thank you for the question. Yes.
Two things. Number one, I sure wish I had 4th grade like It's unbelievable. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about that transition from being a professional accountant, or whatever your title was in that process, to a professional life changer. I'd like to hear some of that.
All Awesome. So I have to give the shortened version of this, but essentially, when I was in college, I went to UMass Boston, and I was studying accounting and finance as my business major. I did this program called Jumpstart. It's a miracle program that at the time, in 2008, 2009, was serving 3 to 5-year-old children rhyming awareness, phonemic awareness, essentially teaching kids how to read. And I actually thought this was full circle, because as you heard earlier, my grandmother taught me how to read. So I thought this was actually full circle opportunity to get back, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, man, I'm into this teaching thing. But you know, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, sometimes you can be swayed to do things that's not what your calling is. For instance, people would tell me, like, education. Why do you want to go into education? You're not going to make any money in education. Go do business. You're going to make plenty of money. You're going to have a fruitful life and all these things. And I listened to him, like, yeah, you're right. I don't know too many educators making a whole bunch of money. And yeah, accounting does seem a little bit more fruitful. So I graduated in 2013 with accounting and finance background. Started working in a Big 4 accounting firm. I hated it. Making good money. I didn't like it. I had those what they call Sunday scaries, where it's Sunday night and you're like laying down like in a fetal position, like worried about like what Monday's gonna bring. I was like in that situation. And there was another nonprofit organization called Junior Achievement, which teaches financial literacy to kids in the greater Boston area. And so that's what I signed up for, just like trying to do something different. And when I went into the classroom, I was teaching 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, how to build a business, revenues and expenses and all those things. And I'm like, this is way cooler than being in the cubicle 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. doing taxes for people that I do not know. Like, I'm making a real impact with these kids. So I left accounting, went back into school, went to UMass Boston again to get my master's in elementary education and special education, and been in the classroom since 2017. And it's been the greatest joy in the world. It's the greatest job in the world. It's a calling. I really enjoy the capacity that teaching brings, right? Because you're working with dynamic people, right? And you're serving them for a few months to get them ready for life ahead. So that's the shortened version. Hopefully it answers your question. Thank you. Yes.
Could you speak a little about your role with Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Absolutely. So yes, we're donating today to the Big Brother Big Sister organization in Easton, Massachusetts. I've been a Big Brother now 10 years, and I've been very grateful for this work. I actually started when I graduated college, and my little brother, now he's an adult himself. You know, just having the opportunity to mentor a young child and helping them to navigate the ins and outs of life, the odds and ends of life, it's been very magnificent, right? If you have, you know, a couple times a month to spend a couple hours with a child that just needs an additional friend, or just needs additional guidance, or just someone to play with, literally just someone to just play with a couple hours. And it gives you the opportunity to be a kid again as well. Big Brother Big Sister has done an amazing deed. And to be able to see my little's called, his name's Joshua, to see him go from 8 years old to now 19 years old, right? And literally see him transform. Now he's 6 feet tall, and he's big now, you know. And I remember when he was a little dude, and you know, was able to just, you know, was having a hard time having a conversation. Now he leads us in everything, and it's a beautiful thing to see the transition shift, where like now he takes the leadership in our friendship, our brotherhood. So it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to get back into your community and stay connected with the children of the next generation, and also to know like what's the interest that they have, so that you're staying in tune when you go and serve in the community yourself. It's one of the greatest organizations. I'm just grateful to be able to do it in the last 10 years. See Joshua literally becoming an adult. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Yes.
Wouldn't today have actually been Martin Luther King's 95th birthday?
That's correct. Today is January 15th. Yeah, this is his birthday today. Amen on that.
You know, in your introduction, Ms. Gibbons Carl talked about the people leaving the profession of teaching a lot, and I wondered, as parents, as community members, how can we support our teachers better and help the kind of work that you're doing?
Yes, we need a lot of support. You know, they say that statistics show that about 60% of our new teachers, years 1 to 3, leave the profession. They enter and they exit quickly, not because they don't know how to teach, but navigating some of the other elements of education, the politics, community engagements, the struggle of managing the classroom, partnerships. I think that's where it starts, right, for teachers, is have partnerships with families. Because if we have the partnership with families, then we can hold students accountable to their learning. But also then we can partner with each other to help our child go to that end goal or whatever their purpose is in life too. I think sometimes, and especially in the beginning, we're afraid to talk to families. Whether good or not so good, we're afraid to talk because we don't know what to say and we don't know how to engage families. But I think for us teachers, we need to do a good job of including you as part of the walk that we're all taking together. And then for families, literally, like my classroom door, I always say, is literally open all the time. So you can always come into the classroom and see what we're doing and participate in some of the lessons, help us learn about your culture, heritage, language, what have you. The opportunity for you to also empower our students too, so it's a magnificent thing. So having families come to our schools to help empower through activities and games and teachable moments is a phenomenal opportunity. When schools have school-wide events, you know, that's the opportunity for partnership with teachers and families to come together and for a common goal, because we're serving the kids, you know, and I think that's very important that, you know, teachers feel that they're supported in that sort of way, families feel they're supported from teachers in that sort of way, supporting the child. So we're all together, it's gonna make the work a whole lot easier. But I also think too that in the work of teaching, it comes to a place where I always say it's a three-way partnership. You have the student, family, and the teacher. All three parties have to be in alignment with one another. And the way to do that is it starts with transparent communication. Make sure that the community, the conversation is transparent with the family, with you, with the student. And that everyone's in agreement on what the end goal is going to be. And so that way we can do checks over the course of the year of how close our child is to reaching the end goal in reading, writing, math, whatever the case may be. So I think if you have those elements in place where you're sharing weekly newsletters, you're sharing, you know, at open house night and conferences where our child is going and what they're doing right now, where they're going, and then families and teachers are opening the doors for each other to come into the space to engage in learning, I think you'll see a lot more families and a lot more teachers partnering together for the service work. Beautiful question. Yes, sir.
How much support do you feel with your colleagues, with your school and district-wide? Or are you a lone wolf?
So I'm the new teacher in 4th grade this year. So all my colleagues, they're veterans in 4th grade. I'm looping with my students. That means I taught them in 3rd grade and I'll teach them again in 4th grade. So I'm the new cat. So when I go into the classroom, I don't know. I ask my colleagues for guidance and support because even teacher of the year is still a learner too. Right? So just making it very clear, I don't know everything either. My colleagues are phenomenal. You know, they've literally opened their doors for me to come in and learn from them. I've gotten a chance to literally observe all my 4th grade colleagues, and I'm like, wow, I need to change my practice up. This is how we do it in 4th grade, and I've been able to really make some adjustments to practice, and now I'm like, wow, my kids are starting to thrive the way that I envision them to thrive, right? Because of the community of support that my colleagues give. In terms of the larger administration, larger school district, I think to say the love will be an understatement, I think, to be honest with you. I get a lot of love from the entire district all the time. People want to come into the classroom and teach with me, to share their work, to collaborate with me, and I'm just, again, my doors are always open for people to come and to work together, because that's what this work is all about. And when you feel that you support it and you feel that you're a part of something special, you know, it's something that you enjoy to the heart. You know? Beautiful question. Thank you. Yes.
With all the emphasis on how open discussion, different points of view about teaching sex to the children, has that incorporated itself in your teaching situation? Or are you able to keep the structure, reading, writing, arithmetic, music, whatever?
Yeah, I don't teach sex ed. There's a class, health class where they have a specialist who's trained to teach that subject. They do provide instruction for 4th graders and 5th graders on that topic. I don't teach that subject. I do teach like your core subjects: reading, math, writing, social studies, science.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is I was in a social situation where a young person with head down wouldn't participate. And I found out from the parents that this young woman was questioning her sexual identity. And I was wondering if that issue for kids is affecting the classroom.
Yeah, you know, I think this is really, thank you for the follow-up questions. I think that's a very important discussion. I've literally had a student who was going through a similar transformation, right? And I think the biggest thing was about being present every day. Because I don't have the training on sex ed, but what I do have is the door open for love and for support. And so we would, like, this student was to a point where they couldn't even go into the classroom to the school building. We would literally like have to walk together every day. And that student at the end of the year wrote this long note, essentially saying thank you for being there with me when very little people were. So have that door open, I think, is the most important thing. To go back to what we talked about earlier, this whole thing is centered around love, where it's all said and done. So in the service work, it has to come with a love-based mindset first, service-based mindset second, and then being present literally every day. Doesn't make the work easy, and sometimes we make mistakes along it, but it does allow for all of us to continue to support each other in our own journeys of life. And so hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, that's a good question.
I think most of us would like to stay here all day and talk to Mr. Washington, but I think we got to wrap this up too. So before we formally close, if you would like to make an additional contribution to Big Brothers Big Sisters Eastern Massachusetts, we have several people who can take your contributions. With those among us who can take contributions, please stand up. Bev back there, Patty, you can take money. If you don't have cash, we are able to take cards. If you don't have a card, we have a QR code, so you have no excuse not to give. And I'm just going to say, because we have a teacher here on assessment, and it is so important, we will be assessing the performance of this group by reporting back to him how much this group gave. Right, Mr. Washington? And let's just give another round of applause. This has been one of the best talks I've heard in years. So now we're going to rise and sing, lift every voice and sing. If you haven't memorized it, there's an insert in your program.
You have to stand up. It's the Negro National Anthem. You have to stand up. Don't disrespect.
Rejoicing Christ.
The closing words come from the anthem you heard our choir sing. These are words by Isaiah Maria Barnwell. Isaiah Maria Barnwell is an amazing singer. She was active in the civil rights movement. She can sing from the bass range all the way up into soprano, so if you ever take a workshop with her, it's just totally amazing. And she was one of the founding members of Sweet Honey in the Rock, the amazing choir. The words that we sang are worth repeating when we have an educator that we're honoring here. Isaiah Maria Barnwell wrote, "For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of life. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations, makers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are." Amen.
Amen.